What is up, metal and heavy music fans? It's Flight of Icarus again with MetalTrenches.com, and today we're going to talk about one of my favorite Opeth songs, The Moor. And hey, if you like to be kept up to date with the best and brightest metal bands and albums from the underground and above, then stick with me by hitting that subscribe button down below. So I recently did kind of a poll of my audience's favorite 5 metal bands, and top of the list for a lot of people was Opeth, and I started thinking, what other Opeth-related videos could I do? And somebody recommended best Opeth songs, and rather than doing a list, I thought it might be fun to kind of check out song by song and talk about my favorite parts and all of that in sort of a different format here. So if you enjoy this, be sure to hit the like button and sort of vote with your views and your watch time, and maybe I'll do more of these and for some of your other favorite bands. But let's get right into it with The Moor. Definitely my favorite track from Still Life. We're going to be jumping around a little bit here just for fair use sake. I will be pausing to talk about some of my favorite parts. Got this great quiet intro here, which is just great for building up the mood. Just this slow tension builder. I love the layering of the guitar too, with this kind of like cleaner guitar in the front with the kind of harmonized distortion very far in the distance with all the reverb. Sometimes I forget how long this intro is, but it does a great job of setting the stage, and it doesn't overstay its welcome. Oh, here's the transition. Still not ready for the heavy part. Oh, that guitar just sounds so, like, sultry. There's that, like, trademark sound to Ackerfelt's riffs, too. That Opethian sound, as it's come to be called. And there it is. The distortion hits. Yeah, those are those like bouncy riffs that I associate. That's my favorite word to describe Opeth. Most of their riffs, their best riffs, have that like bouncy vibe to them. A lot of the Blackwater Park stuff too. I almost went with the Leper Affinity for the first one, but we'll get to that if you guys enjoy this. It's that music that just gets you doing this. The like side to side headbanging. Another transition here. Get that double bass in. It's a quick time to... Oh, this part. Those little start-stop riffs are so good. God, I miss these harsh vocals, man. Like, I respect where Ackerfelt's gone since here, but it's just... You can't replace this. Just all the layering going on here, too. Another great transition. I love those parts too that make you do that little jerky head motion. Hit that like button if it does that to you too. Doomy guitars in the background too with the little sustained notes. And the clean vocals come in. More nice layering. Ugh, those harmonies give me goosebumps. First appearance of that big hook right there. That's what makes his song so special, is he always has that little like recurring theme that kind of happens. That's an important thing. I'm going to stop there too. Like some of the songs that you'll remember the most have that sort of that hook, that melody to it that you remember that sticks with you, and they'll kind of like sprinkle it in here and there. That's why like the Star Wars theme is like as big as it is, because you're probably even thinking of it in your head. Like they like to toy with that theme, and throughout the film and the soundtrack, they'll like bring these little, and kind of each character has their own little character theme that pops up. Opeth kind of plays with that too. There it is again. Got all that great dual guitar work. Slowing it down again. Oh yeah. Every time, man. Opeth songs just don't get old, man. They just get better every time you listen to them. As far as death growls go, too, nobody else sounds like Ackerfeld. It's a very distinct, very breathy, very deep growl. And take note, I complain all the time about bands that like make their songs too long and don't know what to do with the time. Opeth is like a great example of how to do this correctly. I mean, speak of the devil, we got another transition. Like, he's always keeping things moving. There's always new stuff happening to keep you engaged. That part's cool too. And another new part here too. Constantly shifting and changing. If you don't have a chance to, we are now 8 minutes, 18 seconds into the song, and there's not been a moment wasted. Like, we might as well only be like 3 minutes in. More of that beautiful acoustic work. This is where I just close my eyes and... Not to get corny, but I know y'all feel the same. I want to hear your favorite parts down in the comments. Do a timestamp even. God, it just takes you on this journey. Bring out the lighters. Oh, this part's really cool. Got that ghostly vibe. Love that guitar effect too. Another recurrence here. We're seeing a theme come back around. But not repetitive, not overused. Perfectly placed. It's like brain candy. Oh, here it comes. Hell yeah. Yeah, that part's so good because, again, like, you've had this like long progression across all these different soundscapes, and we haven't heard that part in a while. And so when it comes back around, it's just this little like brain candy moment where your brain just goes like, I know this. Ooh, this is great. And then we throw in that little trick too with Ackerfeld coming in with that growl and the big just explosion of distortion again. Magnificent. Amazing songwriting. And this part just sounds like massive as a result. And like, even if you don't know the concept of the album, this definitely like conjures like a story in your head. Recurring of the harmonized clean singing here. More brain candy. But it took that break getting here for this to really make maximum impact. Oh, and then just out. Man, I forgot that it ends that way, actually. It's been a minute, actually, since I really like listened to that. Because honestly, I don't listen to Still Life like a ton. It's not one of my favorite albums, even though it's a top rated one. But god damned if that isn't one of my top 10 Opeth songs of all time. For good reason. It is just magnificent songwriting, start to finish. That is how you write a long song. Because that song is what? It's like 11 minutes, 25 seconds-ish. So, but I have the same response to it as if I was listening to like a 3-minute song, because it just like keeps it engaging. It just constantly is shifting, and it only repeats itself at the perfect moment to allow those things to really pop and stick in your mind. And it takes its time to build things up, bring things down, lots of dynamics. This is what I live for. Like, when I come across music like this is why I love that Warforged album so much too, because there's so much of this in there. And it's funny because all the time I talked about that album, I didn't really think about Opeth. And then it wasn't until later when I was making my bands like Opeth list where I finally was like, I need a 5th band on here. What should I put on here? And they just popped into my head, and I'm like, you know, I never thought about them because they're more like techie and kind of aligned with a lot of the other stuff on the Artist and Era roster. But as far as like how they compose their songs, there's a lot of similarities between those bands. So if somehow this is the first time you've heard me mention Warforged, which would be kind of crazy because I mentioned them a million times, but if you have not listened to Voice, which you can find on Bandcamp, then you definitely need to if you are a fan. And also, if you haven't checked out that Bands Like Opeth video, definitely do that. But I think that'll do it for this one. Let me know down in the comments again, like, what are your favorite parts of this song? What other songs do you really want to see me do? Put timestamps down there. I'm planning on doing some other bands as well that were top ranked among my audience. There were quite a few that I'm fond of, thankfully, and so it'll be fun for me to do that. But it just depends on your views. So, if people came and they watched and the stats go really well with this one, then I'll do more. But if not, then I might move on and just do something else. But this was a fun little experiment and just another great way to sort of revisit music that I've loved for such a long time. Stick around if you're new here. I got plenty more videos for you to check out. Also, full album reviews of new releases, interviews with bands on the podcast, tier lists, you name it, we've got it. So plenty of reasons to subscribe if you've not already. I even have an Opeth albums tier list for the death metal era anyways. You can also chat with me and a few other metal YouTube content creators on the Discord and support on Patreon. But that'll do it for now. Flight of Icarus signing off. I will see you in the trenches.